Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Living Beyond Limits. I'm Reverend Jennifer Spear. We are a part of Centers for Spiritual Living, and I'm so glad you've joined us for this service this morning. And for those of you who are online, welcome to our online service. And for those of you who are new today, from the very bottom of our hearts to yours, we're so glad that you joined us today. Welcome. And so let's begin this service today by reading our mission statement that's on the front of your bulletin. We are a sanctuary where people can discover and reveal the presence of God within their own being and experience their oneness with all life. Through the realization of this inner presence of love and peace, we give way to the evolutionary impulse of the divine and become a beneficial presence in the world. So that's what we are up to here at Living Beyond Limits. By coming here, we are giving ourselves the opportunity through the talk and through the readings and through the prayers of moving back into that place within us that knows that we are never separate from Spirit, but that infinite Spirit, that presence of love and peace and good without bound is never further away than our very breathing. That we are actually incarnations of that one that expresses itself in and through and around and as everything. It also expresses in and through and as each one of us. So what happens is as we come to recognize that that is our own essential nature, then we know that we can never be separate or apart from love or from peace or from the truth of wholeness or power. And then when we go out into the world, what happens then is we are not so dependent on the world giving us peace or love or kindness or generosity. Of course, we would prefer it, but we aren't dependent on it because we have discovered that that is within us. And when we know that that is within us, it puts us in a place of power. So when we are out in the world and the world is not being loving, we can tap into the love within ourselves and share it in the world. When things in the world aren't peaceful, we can tap into the peace within ourselves and rest in that peace, regardless of what's going on out here. We can stand in our own wholeness when life is challenging or relationships are challenging, and that puts us in a place of choice and in a place of power. And because we are connected to everyone and everything else in this entire world, as we awaken to that, it affects the whole. It affects the whole, it affects our relationships because we come to them differently. But because everything is connected to everything else, it actually affects the whole. And so I thank each and every single one of you for answering the call of your own spirit to be walking this path, to be bringing your light into this world in a way that is beneficial, and for just being you in this world. Thank you for that. Well, do you ever find yourself caught up in worrying? Caught up in fretting or even feeling fearful about things? You know, do you ever fret about wars that are going on in the world? Or maybe the state of our economy when it's not doing well? Or do you find yourself fretting about the political situation in this country? Or maybe about the environment? Or do you ever find yourself worrying and feeling fearful about things in your own personal life? Maybe you have been diagnosed with an illness, or maybe you're just worrying because you're waiting for the diagnosis and you haven't gotten it, and so you're making up a story and worrying about that. Or worried about somebody else, one of your friends or loved ones who has received a diagnosis. Or perhaps do you worry because you're having a difficulty in a relationship? Or worry about your bills? Or worry about not having enough money? Do you ever do any of those things? Yeah. I learned something this week that I really, really liked. I was listening to a talk on happiness on the Deepak Chopra website. And one thing that happens to me sometimes is that I get stuck in my emotions. Not so much worry, but other emotions. I get stuck sometimes if something challenging is going on in my life. I can get stuck in my sadness, or get stuck in my grief, or get stuck in feelings of loss, or sometimes get stuck in feelings of fear. And what happens for me is I sometimes don't know how to honor those feelings and allow myself to feel those feelings without just being immersed in those feelings and sitting in them for a very long time. But what I learned on this talk that I listened to is that our amygdala is the part of our brain that is responsible for creating feelings and emotions and sensory input. So our amygdala is the part of our brain that tells us something is hot so that you move your hand and you don't get burnt. Our amygdala is also the part of our brain that creates feelings and emotions. And so those sensory inputs, we're highly aware, they are there to give us a message. That sensory feeling has information attached to it, which is, this is hot, so you know to move your hand. Well, our emotions also have information to give us, a message to give us. And it gives us a message through our feelings. So what that means then is that I can actually look for the message in the feelings rather than continuing to marinate in my feelings. And if I look for the message in those feelings that is still honoring those feelings, I'm not denying them, I'm not pushing them away, but I'm looking for what is underneath the emotions, their feelings also. And that means that I can recognize that, oh, this sadness that I'm feeling means this person is really important to me in my life, or that I want this person to be in my life. Or it means that the grief that I'm feeling because my friend's diagnosis means that I want them in my life, that they're important to me. That's the message in the feelings of sadness or grief that are there. And so that means then if you are experiencing fear, say, fear maybe about not having enough money, there's a message in that fear. Maybe the message is to look at the numbers in your bank account or what's coming in and to look and see, are they actually accurate? Or are you moving in your life from some old paradigm that isn't even true and doesn't even make sense anymore because it used to be, or it's something you learned but it's not accurate today? Or to look for the message, do I need to change something that I'm doing? Do I need to do something to change the amount of money that I have in my life, meaning getting a job or doing something to bring more in or spend less? But there's a message in that fear for you. And so your job then is to ask yourself, what is the message that this feeling is giving me? What is the information that it's trying to share with me? I think that worrying is a component of being a human being. That is innate to all of us, is to worry. So I think there's several reasons that we worry, and I'm going to talk about some of those. One of those reasons that we worry, and I think it behooves us to remember that our brains are actually hardwired for negativity. We have a negativity bias that is part of our brain's makeup that is there from caveman days to tell us when something like a lion was about to pounce on us so that we would pay attention to what was happening in the environment so that we could keep ourselves safe, right? And so now, let's say you have that fear about as that lion is about to pounce on you, and that serves you to have that fear, serves you to heed those feelings. But if you are worrying about that lion for days or weeks or months beforehand or afterward, it doesn't serve you. It only exhausts you and depletes you and leaves you feeling drained. And that's what happens when we worry about things that aren't even happening right now, which is the second reason that we worry. Often when we are worrying, I think we are futurizing. We're not in the moment. We're not present right here. We're making something up that may or may not happen in the future. And often it's the latter. It's something that isn't ever even going to happen. But sometimes I think what happens is we think that if we imagine the worst case scenario, then we're going to somehow be prepared for whatever happens. Yeah? Do you think that? But my question to you is, do you use that worry to prepare you? Do you use those thoughts to make a plan or to motivate you to do something constructive that's going to assist you in whatever you think might happen down the road? Does it cause you to put things in order so when that thing happens, things are in order? Does it cause you to do things like set money aside, or to change your eating habits and eat healthier, or to exercise more? Does your fear that maybe you're going to get sick and not be able to go back to your job, does it cause you to train someone so that they can take over your job? Does it cause you to get the hospital bed put in your living room just in case you get sick? Or do you just worry about it? We just worry about it. And so I have a story that I'd like to share with you. This is a story that Alan Cohen tells. He says, one afternoon, an official-looking fellow showed up at my door and flashed an ID from the water department. I just read your water meter, he told me, and I have to inform you that you have unusually high usage this month. High usage? Yes, sir, about 4 times the usual amount. 4 times? That's right, here are the numbers. I looked at the numbers, and he wasn't kidding. No leaks that I knew of. Maybe my tenant was taking a lot of showers. But I wondered, 80,000 gallons worth of showers? Nope, he doesn't even wash the dishes. I thanked the waterman and told him I'd try to conserve this month and hope that the bill would come down next month. A few days later, I was sitting on my back porch when I noticed a puddle in the corner of the yard. The puddle had been there for a while, but I figured it was due to some heavy rain that we had had. But the rest of the lawn was dried up, but the puddle was still there. I poked my hand into the puddle. There was a pipe beneath it, and it was leaking. I can't tell you exactly how much. I can tell you exactly how much. 80,000 gallons a month worth of leakage. Energy leaks. If you are losing energy in the form of joy or peace or well-being, you have a leak in your system. There is no malevolent parasite that has invaded your world and is undermining you. Your leak is on your property, and as such, you have access to it. The entire game of life is about making the best use of your energy. The question is not, is there life after death? The question is there life before death? To answer this for yourself and to live it, you must quit doing the things that deplete your energy and start doing the things that expand it. Worrying depletes our energy, for no causes no good. Roy Bennett, in his book, The Light in the Heart, said, instead of worrying about what you cannot control, shift your energy to what you can create. What can you do rather than worrying? And I think the third reason that we worry is because our ego tells us the story that the world out here is cause to what's going on in our lives and cause to what's going on inside of us, rather than our consciousness is cause to our life, our choices, our perceptions, our actions, those are cause to what is happening in our life rather than the material world and what is already going on out there. It's an inner job, and our consciousness, our thinking, our attitude, our focus creates what is happening in our lives. We also forget that that human egoic voice does not tell us the whole truth. The voice of your human egoic self does not tell you the capital T truth. And in turn, we forget that capital T truth. Ernest Holmes, the founder of this philosophy, said, "There is a power within you that is greater than any condition you can ever contact. It knows no obstruction, no obstacle. It transcends all because it is the final fact of creation, the Almighty indwelling our souls." There is a power within us that is greater than any condition we will ever contact. Our ego doesn't tell us that part of the equation. There is a power within you that doesn't know anything about your problem, because to it there is no problem. To it there is only potential. There is only intelligence. There is only guidance. There is only abundance. There is only good. There is only wholeness. There is a power within you that doesn't know anything about your problem. It is an unlimited power of perfection. Its essence is wholeness. It is a principle of wholeness and a principle of good without bound. Its essence is love and peace and absolute intelligence. And that is within you, and that fills your life. So when we find ourselves worrying, it is really our whole self asking us to remember the capital T truth. There is something within you that's just begging for you to remember the truth rather than spinning out in the fear and the worry. You all know that Einstein said, "You cannot solve a problem at the level that the problem was created." You cannot change a reality if we remain in the same consciousness that created the problem in the first place. We have to change our thinking. We have to shift our perspective. And so in those moments, we must lift our thinking, our consciousness, our focus above or beyond the problem so that we can see an accurate picture of capital R reality. That the living spirit imbues everything. That spirit is the cause of all things. And that spirit is ever present in our lives. And that doesn't mean, when you remember that truth, it doesn't mean that you aren't having the human experience that you're having. And it doesn't mean that what's going on in your life is not real, because a broken bone is real, and a conflict in your relationship is real. The amount of money that you have in the bank is real. But it's not the whole picture. It's not the real, capital R, real picture. It's only like one slice of the pie. It's kind of like looking at, you have a film for a movie film. It's like looking at one square on the film and believing that that is reality. This thing that's happening in my life is reality, but you're not looking at the whole entire roll of film. You're just looking at the one frame. I know that for every single one of us, we don't want to be stuck in worry. We don't want to be stuck in fear. We don't want to be stuck in situations that aren't working for us or that we don't like or that we don't prefer. We want to be able to change what isn't working. And we also want to be able to add positive energy to this planet rather than negative energy. And so we do that by shifting. We do that by shifting from worry and fear to knowing the capital T truth. We do that by bringing our awareness to the other frames on the film. What else is true besides what I'm experiencing? What else is the truth about life? The title of my talk today is Cruising Altitude 30,000 Feet. And I'm talking about that every time we find ourselves worrying, every time we find ourselves fretting, that we can elevate our consciousness. We can lift our thinking. We can see a bigger picture. We can know that there is more. We can shift our energy and our emotions and our thinking. And as we do that, then we open up the channel within us so that perfection of God can flow through us into our lives. We do that through prayer. We do that through using affirmations, through meditating where we get beyond the problem and can just sit in that presence. We do it by reading writings of people that remind us of the truth of who we are and what we are. We do that through any of those practices that help us remember that that infinite one is in and through everything. Because the truth is, consciousness is creative. And a change in consciousness creates a change in form. In the book, This Thing Called You, Ernest Holmes says, "The creative law which you use is like a mirror. The thought you hold before it is an image. The mirror reflects the image you hold before it. Hold there then the image of faith and expectancy with enthusiastic conviction and with undying trust. The only thing that can hinder you is yourself. The only thing that can help you is yourself, because it is you who reflects the image in the mirror. It is our consciousness that is reflected into our life and reflected back to us as our experiences. And so prayer, spiritual mind treatment, affirmative prayer is one of the ways that we change our consciousness. Because when we do affirmative prayer, it shifts our focus from the problem and the all-consumingness of that problem to the truth that there is a power within us which is greater than any condition we shall ever meet, greater than anything we shall ever meet in this material realm. The truth that there is a power within us and a presence within our lives that is greater than anything we will meet in this world. In that knowingness, everything that is unlike that truth loses its power. Because what is unlike that truth with a capital T is an outpicturing of a partial perception. It's an outpicturing of a limited perspective. Ernest Holmes said, "Mental healing is accomplished not through coercion of consciousness, but through its illumination." Through its illumination. And so I'm going to invite you now to join us in a chamber of prayer. I invite our practitioners to encircle the room. And I'm going to invite you, if you would like, to speak your word aloud while we do. If not, to speak it to yourself, or to just sit in that energy of prayer, to know in this moment peace, to know the truth of perfect wisdom and right action expressing itself in our political system, to know the truth of wholeness and health and prosperity for everyone. And we have a prayer shawl here that is for Ray Bunch, who is experiencing a health challenge right now, and I'm going to put this in the middle of the room here. We also have a prayer shawl for Riley, who had surgery this week and is in the hospital healing, for you to put that energy of prayer also, knowing that it permeates these prayer shawls at the same time. And so I invite you to begin. To recognize that the voice of your ego telling you how scary this thing is or how terrible it is not the whole truth. Remember that your human egoic voice does not tell you the whole truth. It is only a partial picture of what's happening. And if you are stuck and can't seem to get yourself out of your fear and your worry, talk to a practitioner. Talk to a practitioner, call them on the phone, talk to one here, sit down and have them pray with you. But have someone help you get yourself out of it if you get yourself caught up in spirit. And the invitation is also through your prayers and through your meditation and through your affirmation to add your positive energy to this planet, to add your peace, and to add your goodness and your recognition of the truth to this world here. And as we do that, there will be greater peace within us and around us, greater health within us and around us, and you will be being that beneficial presence in this world. And so thank you to each and every single one of you for walking this path, for saying yes to the divine within you, to be being a light, to adding your consciousness. And so I have a couple of invitations for you this week. One is we are doing Community InReach, which is if you would like to create a meal and take it to Ray and Marty, because Ray's not driving to go to the grocery store and he doesn't really have the energy to be cooking right now, and he's kind of the one that does that in his household. So we are providing meals for them. If you would like to, you can sign up on Meal Train. The link is here on your insert. Or if you don't want to cook and deliver a meal, you can send them gift cards. You can have Grubhub or whoever, those kind of organizations, deliver to their house. But if you go on Meal Train, what happens then is it gives you a calendar. We're doing food every other day for them. So you're not taking foods the same day that somebody else is or taking the same dish that somebody has made the day before. So we invite you to do that. We are also having a pancake breakfast today after service. That is at Chris and Peggy's house. The address is on your insert. It's a fundraiser. It's $20 and kids eat free. And if you don't have $20 and you want to come anyway, we are invited to do that anyway. But we'd love to have you join us and hang out and eat breakfast and visit and just relax. We have prayer support available to you. There's a prayer box at the back of the room. If you would like to fill out a prayer request, we will support you during the week. If you would like a prayer shawl, like we prayed over these prayer shawls, those are available for you to take also. If you would like to be wrapped in that energy of prayer, the practitioners will pray over it before you leave, and then you can take it with you and gift it to someone or gift it to yourself. Our Sunday talks are available. We have a YouTube channel. We invite you to watch them there or to send your friends that direction. Also, we have Facebook and Meetup and Instagram, and to follow us on any of those, to share our posts, and to like us. Do you like us? And that's it. So I invite you to repeat after me, good fills my life now. Good fills my life now. I recognize it. I savor it. I own it. I live it. And so it is.